Okay. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, dear friends. I'm here today with Dr. Aneeqa Malik. She is the author of Intergal Finance, a case study of the solidarity economy, a process facilitator, solidarity stewardess, social integrator, and entrepreneur. I've had the pleasure of knowing Aneeqa for almost 9 years through the NIT order, care of Sheikh Maktu Noor, her spiritual guide, and so that's a great blessing. So I'm here with her because she's about to embark on a journey to Italy, and she's been on a journey of the soul that combines her talents and her wisdom and her experience in finance, economics, and uniting people and bridging divides. So Aneeqa ji, would you be willing to share some of your backstory about how you're where you came from and then how you're now ending up in Italy?
Okay, Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for this opportunity and for making this effort, Maryam. I really appreciate that. Right. Okay, so my journey, which in our integral terminology, we call it transformation journey. And my transformation journey actually started when I took on to the spiritual path. I mean, we are all on a path. It's just the realization. When the realization comes, you realize, okay, so that's the purpose, this is the direction. So alhamdulillah, lucky for me, I found my teacher, or the teacher found me, and she happened to be in Pakistan, and I was born in Pakistan, but I have spent most of my life outside of Pakistan. I was raised in Saudi Arabia, and I've been living in the UK for the past 23 years. So I think that the connection, the longing of being back home or home, right? Because my parents used to live there. So I found my teacher. She was in Lahore, and at that time, so the connection was established. And I think that was the opening of my heart as well, because from there on, everything was aligned with the purpose. And when I say purpose, as in spiritual purpose as well. So, not just the material or worldly, but also the deeper meaning of, what it means to be here. Why am I here? Kind of, those questions.
Right.
And so during that, so the journey, the transformation started from there. And it was then I also found my mentor, my PhD supervisor. And it's something, I don't know how familiar you are or others are with the term integral, but integral for us is a holistic view, like the whole. So we are saying there are alternatives, and especially in economics, because our main focus was on economics and how can we transform economics, or how economies are working or not working in many countries. So the integral actually says that the alternatives that are there should be brought into the main, the mainstream or the picture, and we can learn from them.
Right.
So yeah, that is why we call it integral, as in all the perspectives together. So nothing should be left out. So my purpose was now retracing my steps back to my spiritual purpose. And I started my own business, my own consultancy. And I realized that when I'm in Sufi circles, and we are all these super compassionate, loving, caring, there's this adab we practice and all this. And the minute you step out in the real world, it's business as usual. Right. And because I had just taken on to the path and I was initiated, I was just brimming with it. It was just everywhere I would see and make the connection. But then slowly, I realized that people started thinking I was the loony one. Why am I bringing all this metaphysical, talk and mysticism into practical things? Like it should be kept separate. I was told again and again. And I kept on thinking, but why aren't Sufis thinking about economics? Why aren't Sufis doing anything about it? And in the Sufi circles, there's no talk, there's no dialogue around it. Yes, we all focus on, our personal transformation, spiritual transformation, but collectively, in practice, what is the practicality? So that's why I call myself a practical mystic, and which was a terminology that one of my economist friends, Mark Aniaski, and I coined, because he's also a mystic. He believes in all that, but we kept on thinking that yes, mysticism is fine, but how do we bridge the gap?
Right.
How do we bring it? Yes.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, my personal transformation is for my own sake, right?
Right.
Once I step out, then is it doing any good to anyone? I don't think so, unless I practice it. And we all practice on a collective level. Otherwise, it's good to just chant those names and, just feel good about it. So that was my PhD's main theme, or the question I was exploring. Now,
how do you unite the different facets of life and show that they're actually interrelated, and that it's really about being interdisciplinary, I think is the word, but they don't typically teach that in academia. Everything's kind of taught as isolated, separate, and it's very confusing in a
fragmented,
way.
Yeah,
fragmented. That's a very
yes, and especially yourself once you are on the path and you that realization comes to you, then it's all about uniting. It's all about unity. It's all about connecting. It's not about separation anymore, because that the duality has to disappear.
Right.
So then, and how can you then not think about, in the practical sense, that duality should also disappear. So that the separation it becomes very cumbersome for you to think, oh, I have to act in this way when I'm in business circles, and I have to act or practice this other when I'm in these circles, and there's a separation, within your own personality and your soul. So that became my purpose, or I don't know, I think the purpose chose me. It just literally, when I wrote my first book, it gives me goosebumps, like the pen just wrote the book. Whatever was.
That's a wonderful feeling. That's a wonderful feeling as a writer.
Yes, I still have no claim over it. I still have, sometimes I feel like I've forgotten what I wrote, because it just came at that moment that the channel was open. So then now coming to why I'm going to Italy, and not just Italy, particularly Assisi. So it's a holy place. It's a holy purpose. And through my research and the community I belong to, researchers, we do work interinstitutionally, and we have just established a connection with an American university. It's a Catholic university in Maryland. Yeah. So we are now I'm not just Muslim, I happen to be a Sufi as well. And they just love that, the language I use. So we are now bringing we're just exploring the Catholic social teachings and Islamic social teachings. And we're saying the message is one. It's all one. It's just the different languages or the different terminologies we use. So how do we unite that? And as you know, there have been many attempts to bring faiths together. It's the interfaith thing, but we are particularly thinking or talking about in finance, economics, and business world. As in, the missing voice. The mainstream is that neoliberal, the capitalistic mindset, and that works everywhere, right? And the Islamic finance or Islamic economics is still kind of, it's thought it's just for Muslims. Even though now There have been many efforts, and the trend is maybe changing. But still, language, as you know, is very limiting. So, if I insist on using Arabic terms or terminology, which is in Islamic finance, it's very limiting, it's very divisive. So, it's considered, it's just for Muslims, right? So we are now thinking, okay, how do we bring all this together, and what can we learn from each other? And then maybe, so in Assisi, it's basically going back to Assisi and why I'm going there. It's an invitation by Pope Francis himself.
Yeah. That's a great honor. So Mabruk, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Alhamdulillah for this opportunity.
Yeah.
And he's also calling all the economists, thinkers, philosophers, scholars to come together and sit together and, explore how can we transform the economy, because through economy, everyone suffers, especially the poor people suffer. So his second encyclical, Laudato Si, is all about this. So he's inviting all of us to sit together and then, come up with a plan that how can we now transform the economy. And therein, I'm taking my Islamic social teaching and Islamic economics and the impulse, which I call solidarity, which actually is the soul of the economy.
Yeah.
And how we are connected.
This is fantastic. I like how you describe language is very interesting. Like, we're using English as a medium, right? But you were also fluent in Urdu. So and that's like Urdu and Punjabi probably is your mother tongue. And so what's fascinating about it is if you can speak a common language, then you can bridge, right? But at the same time, you lose when, like, if I don't speak Urdu, if I don't speak Punjabi, I lose the beauty of that, because each language has a distinctive sound, a quality. And so it has a unique contribution. So you have these beautiful similarities that come together and can be translated easily. And then you have some unique distinctions that give it its very own quality, and it's something that anyone who speaks their mother tongue, there's something so precious in that, like, no matter how many languages you learn, there's something in that's so precious. So I really love, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just like reading Rumi in either English or Farsi. It's completely, the essence is different, right?
Absolutely.
Yes. So we're not trying to maybe invent a new language. That's not the intention. The intention is to now, I think it's acceptance of, all the languages, all the voices, and that is what the integral impulse is, that the particularity, the characteristics of a language or a region should be respected, right?
Oh,
it shouldn't be just a monoculture that everybody has to follow that.
Right.
And that is the beauty. And this is what I love about being, going to, this is my first experience. It would be to sitting in front with all the people of different faiths, but particularly Catholic people. And, yes, and we are accepting each other, because there is no other way in today's world that we can move forward or we can survive or exist even without acceptance of each other's, faiths or philosophies or whatever languages, because it's not just about diversity. This is why I chose instinctively the terminology solidarity, because we are all connected,
right?
Through we are coming from the main source, one source, right?
Right.
So it's that soul-to-soul connection we still have.
Very nice. So would you be willing to share a little bit about how Islamic finance, its unique contribution and the work, because you also do work with a university, I believe in Pakistan, with like you said, like you're working with helping raise up people who are in a state of poverty, that are in a less fortunate position. So how the Islamic perspective on that works towards that, and what makes it unique, and what contributions it brings, and especially also what your colleagues who are Catholic or from other backgrounds, what they've liked and learned about it. Would that be okay?
Yes, sure. Thank you. It's not an institution, it's actually an organization.
Okay.
Whilst I was, let me just share my own transformation journey or my story, that when I was working with the marginalized migrant communities here in the UK, and I realized that, finances are always an issue. And I was taking funds from big lottery fund here. And I was told as a Muslim that I shouldn't be using that fund because, lottery is gambling. So it's haram. And then I came up, I asked them the question, okay, do we have a solution to that?
Right.
Can we provide our own solutions? Do you have a solution? Now, the solution is that I'm sure you know about zakat. The 2.5% kind of wealth tax Muslims give annually on their savings. But also we give sadaqah a lot. So sadaqah is so zakat is obligatory and sadaqah is the charity you give, donations, charity. And also there is something which is coming straight from the Quran, and it's Qarde Hasan. So Qard means loan, and Hasan, Hasana, Ahsana, coming from Ihsan, same root. It's about beautiful, something beautiful that, so Allah in the Quran says in an ayah that, who amongst you can give me, like Allah, a loan, a beautiful loan, a benevolent loan. And that is, I think, so beautiful because that is a philosophy in itself. That's a whole, it takes the whole conversation to a new paradigm because, what is the most, I think, disastrous aspect of our economy is the debt slavery all around the world.
That's terrible.
Yes, so a loan that is beautiful, meaning you cannot, so coming from Islamic perspective, and even all the Abrahamic faiths, usury is not permissible.
Okay.
You can't charge interest. You shouldn't charge interest, but that's not the case, right?
Right.
So in Islam also, it's haram to charge interest. So you can't make money from money, right? And money which is created in banks, it's like created in thin air. You can't physically see that money. It's just that transaction happening, taking place. And Islam is, I won't say that in many Islamic countries, it's still the same conventional, methodology which is used, system. But in Islam particularly, it's partnership based and it's asset based. Like you have gold, and against that you can, you have to pledge something, and then you do business with each other and not charge interest.
Right.
It's a whole different philosophy to think about it. And people, it's so simple, yet people think it's very complicated.
Right.
So when I went to Pakistan, so the journey started from here. And I was on a lookout for a model which can, especially, so the charity streams I was saying, zakat and sadaqah. And the question was, how come we are not utilizing that fund or that money for community development? And it's not happening in the UK. I mean, now the trend is changing. It's about 13 years ago, I was on the lookout of, why aren't we using this money for community development? And then I found my answer in Pakistan. So this organization has given interest-free loans, Qarde Hasan, to 5.8 million families. And it's counting.
Wow, that is huge. Yeah.
That is huge. Yeah. So my book is my book presents them as a case study to say, look, it is possible that if we do not charge, we can share our abundance with each other. We can be each other's bankers. I mean,
Right.
if you have your, so the main concept in Islam is that money should be circulated, not accumulated. Normally people
Or
accumulate.
hoarded, right? Not hoarded.
Yes,
Constantly. Yeah.
exactly,
Very nice.
exactly. And then interest is given to you on
Mhm.
the money you've saved with the bank, or, you know, you've
Yeah.
accumulated that, and you also make interest, you
Yeah.
make money from it.
Yeah.
That is not permissible.
Mhm.
And from a very moral perspective and practical, I mean, it's so simple, yet people don't pay attention to it, that if I have enough money, and
Yeah.
if you are in need,
Mhm.
I can always give you a loan and not
Mhm.
charge you anything, right?
Yeah.
And I say, okay, you take this, you are in need,
Right.
you make, you can serve your purpose,
Mhm.
and especially if you have to make livelihood from it,
Right.
utilize this and pay me back when you can. But
Exactly.
I mean, it's simple, but
It's
how
simple.
difficult it is.
It is. Yeah, it is.
We are
And I
so
think,
attached to our possessions, we are so attached to our money,
right.
that we can't think of sharing with each other. So that is the main concept, that if we can do that, and that's where I think the spiritual disciplining and all this transformation can help as well, because if you are working on your nafs and your training,
Mhm.
and of course maybe you can then do that, otherwise it's very difficult. So that was the reason I was more convinced that maybe bringing that spiritual perspective and teaching of not just Islam,
Right.
like the universal values of how we can share our abundance with each other and not be too attached to our possessions and money as well.
Right.
So that is the main concept of interest-free loans, or just sharing your abundance, a beautiful benevolent loan.
Yeah, that is, I can see that also in America. They're talking about forgiving student loan debt. And I've always wondered why we charge so much interest on student loans, because to me, it's like you want to educate the population. So wouldn't you give them the loan in the way you're describing, where it's a loan, they should pay back what they borrow, but in a way that's easy and manageable. But instead, our bankers and our institutes actually profit at almost an obscene margin on the student's debt, and it creates a hardship and a burden, which is now, that now there's a lot of talk about forgiving it outright, which is good. But
Yes.
but it does that in every society where this is practiced. You see that then the poor become poorer, and many of the current, like many of the current accepted for financial practices, I found, are harder on people with low incomes, people who are like struggling to come up in the society, and a lot more generous and available to people once they start to get richer and richer and richer, which just really accelerates their wealth. But that wealth doesn't end up going back through, like you said, and then you have a gap. You have a wealth gap that is quite pronounced. So
Yes.
I really like what you're saying there. May I share I have a Pakistani sister-in-law, as you know, and she told me that she comes from a business family, and she said they had a practice that was similar to what you described, where the families would they would all pool their wealth, like a particular amount, for one family to get a new home, and then they would rotate. So they would all contribute towards this shared collective, and the home wasn't shared as such, but everyone knew they'd have a turn. So it was such a unique concept to me, because I hadn't seen or heard anything like that in America.
Yes, it's very indigenous to Pakistan. Or so what exactly are we saying is that all these indigenous models, all these alternatives which are working and are around the world, there are many.
Yeah.
But we only have one monoculture. We have one model that we have to follow.
Right.
So we are saying what if we learn from these indigenous models? You know, there is a lot of wisdom in it. So we want to bring that back into practice, and maybe on a larger scale now. I think it also comes down to financial literacy, because many people do not have that financial literacy. And they just, you know, they're like robotically, they just, as the economies or finances work in the world, you know, they're just complying with it.
Right.
So it's also kind of, you know, raising the consciousness of people so they can also understand that the ills that are actually embedded in an interest-based economy and systems,
right.
People need to now question that. Yeah.
I think that's brilliant. And then if you allow me, I believe, and you can correct me, that there's another aspect that I think Islamically in your work from reading your book that I understood, is that this idea of brother and sisterhood, and that understanding that we're all actually one family. And then when we see each other like that, and we think of the world like that, then we can actually help each other, and we're more eager and willing to help each other. And we see it as a collective rather than just being so individualistically focused.
Yes, so it in my book, and what the philosophy of this organization is, basically a prophetic tradition coming from the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam himself. So when he migrated from Mecca to Medina, and you know, the hijrah was made, so his companions, may Allah be happy with them, all of them. So when they made this migration from Mecca to Medina, because, you know, there was this fear of persecution, so they all kind of escaped that.
Right.
So when they reached Medina, the people of Medina, Ansar, they're called, actually shared half of their wealth, half of their properties, everything with the brothers. The brothers who came from Mecca upon the advice of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So it's called Mawakhat, which actually means brotherhood, or spiritual brotherhood, as I translated it, because it's a brotherhood of, you know, faith. Yeah. Within faith, those people who believe. So it's called Mawakhat, which is such a beautiful concept. Again, it comes down to sharing our abundance with each other. Right. Can we do that? And why don't we do that? You know, that is the ill in our souls, in our societies. So they, I mean, can we do that in today's day and age, that I say, oh, Maryam, you take half of my property or my wealth, and you know, you need it, I have enough. That needs a lot of spiritual discipline and full faith, iman, and tawakkul in Allah. So that was what was a historic moment. And then in Pakistan, the same organization, this is their philosophy. They follow this philosophy, and they kind of, you know, they have mobilized a huge community of people, because, you know, Pakistan is a faith-based country, unlike secular countries there, you know. So people still have that faith intact. So, you know, you can sit together and talk about these things. So this philosophy was kind of, you know, revived in Pakistan. That the, you know, the visionary of Akhuwat Foundation in Pakistan, he started saying that, you know, make others your brothers and sisters. So, you know, if your brother or sister in need, you have to help them. So the haves of the society should help the have-nots of the society. And it's taken him about 22 years, but now it's on a large scale, which kind of proves, I mean, they started very organically, but it proves that these philosophies, ideologies, and concepts could be practiced. They can be, if they are in practical sense, we can do it. It's not difficult. So what's stopping us? But again, I would say that it can happen in a country like Pakistan, or any country where there is still this culture of brotherhood and sisterhood. But maybe in the societies you and I live in, maybe it's difficult here, because basically it's trust. It's trusting each other and saying that, yeah, you are in need. Here you are. So this is the message I'm taking to Assisi as well.
Very nice.
And yeah, sharing with everybody. Yeah.
Very nice. So I'm going to look at another question to ask you. Or do you have time? Is it all right? May I ask you?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
So what are you hoping to create? What will the legacy and purpose of this interspiritual enterprise be?
Only Allah knows that. I'm just striving. So the legacy, I think once your own transformation has taken place, now you have transformed and you're not thinking like any other common person. You're different now, because now many dimensions open up to you and you can now see the bigger picture. It's kind of revealed to you.
Right.
And then you can't be any ordinary person. You can't just do things the way people are doing. Like you have to now point out all the ills in the system, and you just take this upon yourself as your mission maybe, or your purpose. And it's a divine calling as well, that now you have to be part of this process. It's your responsibility to now also educate others, and maybe take them on that path, just if people are willing. So the legacy is, to be very honest, it's a very heavy word, legacy. I don't know. I just feel I feel like I'm just I'm this vessel which is being, maybe, I don't know, I'm striving to open up to this message, and this is just a very, very humble effort coming from me, and I feel like maybe this is how my responsibility is to spread the message and share the message, whoever is inclined to listen and accept it. And may Allah make it easier for me. And, so I won't say it's my legacy. I'm just saying that I am part of that. I'm just serving this mission or this purpose with this intention that, I have to do the rightful, thing. And
I think that's lovely. Like, I believe there's a quote, there's nothing like an idea whose time has come. And so I love that you're working on thinking in terms of awareness and mindset, because often we do, and it's kind of strange actually that in the richest, in some of the richest countries, you actually have more of a scarcity mindset, where people are afraid of losing what they have, even though today the world, there are many indexes that indicate that the world is richer today, and most of us have more than our ancestors ever did. But but there's almost like with that has come kind of a heedlessness. What did you say?
Insecurity, maybe.
In insecurity, yes, an insecurity. And I think a heedlessness that's not appreciated fully of just, or maybe it's just afraid of losing, this great wealth or this great abundance that's come. But when you change your mindset and you start to look at new ideas and things differently, you realize that none of us really created anything that we have. Right? So it's all come to us freely, and as a person of a religious and spiritual bent of mind, we would attribute that to source, to God, to Allah, and so you see that common thread in both, because I come from a Christian background, so I think of immediately so many Bible verses, and so many teachings of Christ where he speaks of that, and he reminds you of that, and the Quran the same way, where the Quran says, have you looked at the birds and who holds them up, right? And I
mean, it's so sad that in today's world, I just find it so sad that you have to buy water. And I've got cheap water.
Yeah.
And you bottle it up and then you sell that water. And I know when I say things like this, I sometimes feel like even my own daughter would say, Mom, what are you talking about? And I just find that sad as well, that, we don't, as you said, heedlessness. We don't pay heed to what the essence is. The essence is the spirit is lost to us,
Right.
And also the scarcity mindset, we have to understand and realize we are not hunter-gatherers anymore. We have evolved.
Right.
We live in these very secure, safe environments. You just turn on the tap and hot water is there. I mean, what else do we need? There's no hardship whatsoever on our part.
Right.
We get food is provided to us, I mean, how much we contribute to this, this chain. We're not even creating anything. We're just sitting here enjoying life. And still we complain about so many things. And that's what you are right, that we don't see abundance. So my whole purpose, or maybe mission, is this, that, how we can amplify voices together, that, we can see that abundance and cherish the abundance and share the abundance as well, not keep it to ourselves.
Right.
That, I think that is the main challenge.
That is, and it's a beautiful opportunity, right? Because I love your example of water, because the nature of water is the flow. So water itself is such a perfect example for an economic and even environmental and spiritual message, because it flows freely. It's a part of us. It's part of our planet. It's so, and then to use the word integral, it's so integral to our survival, to our life. And like you said, my husband's mother, my husband's Indian, so we went somewhere, and I forget, it was like an amusement park or something, and they charge more for water. Like, it's not just they charge, but then they charge like 4 times or more, again, because they know they have you trapped in a hotline. And she was really thirsty and she wanted to purchase water, and she saw the price and she said no. Like, it was just a matter of principle for her. She's like, we shouldn't have to pay that for water. Like, that's so, it's literally almost immoral. And it kind of is. And it could be, countered that, well, we're in America, so people can afford it. So, it's okay to capitalize on that. But is it really? Yeah.
You see, that is what we need to learn from indigenous people.
Right.
Because, you talk to any indigenous person, they'll be like, you sell water? Like, literally, it's like a crime.
What are you doing?
But but for us, it's normal. Oh, you have to buy water if you're thirsty. I mean, yes, capitalize on everything that God has given us. But then, I know it's a total different mindset, but I'm telling you, it's not difficult. Once you move into that, realm, that consciousness, it's really simple. You actually, you can then easily live a very simple life.
Right.
Otherwise, I think it's so difficult, the way you have to comply with everything nowadays. But simplicity is what I think we need to find and make it a fashion, maybe.
Right.
Simple living.
Yeah. My husband Uday, he always likes to say simple living and high thinking, and he teaches business, so he teaches his students about microfinance and Muhammad Yunus, because often in the West, students business textbooks and things, everything is kind of, everyone's ethnocentric in their own way. So of course we focus first on like where we come from. But the thing is that it's helpful to learn about where other people come from. And because there's so much migration now and there's so much movement, you now have, like, in academia, especially, most professors, at least from so many people I met, are actually international. Like, they've become citizens of America, but they come from all over the world. And so it's
a global village.
It's a global village. And so they bring to the classroom this wider view of, like, have you thought about how the other half lives? Like, have you thought about, And what I really like about like when my husband shares about Muhammad Yunus's work, and it's similar to what I believe what the institute you're working with does, like his focus, not only has it been extremely successful, but I believe he started with giving it to women, mothers and women, these loans.
Yeah.
And it actually not only worked, but they elevated themselves, they paid him back, and then they just took off. And I see in America, like increasingly, you see people in America now, like you see a growing population of people who are begging and poor. And like something I didn't see really when I was growing up so much, but now in most towns I go to, it's become a phenomenon where it's kind of normal. And and the methods, whatever we use, where people just, you give some money or you do whatever randomly, which is a good act, but it doesn't seem to take that person out of that difficulty, right? Whereas this model actually makes someone self-reliant and makes them, it's like that, like you said, trust. Like, I believe in you. I have faith, in you. And because of my faith in you, I know that not only are you going to do the right thing, but you're going to do it well. Yeah. And then that person really, they live up to that, and and often exceed that.
That is the concept of ihsan.
Yeah. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. Doing the things beautifully,
right.
Doing things in an excellent manner, just finding beauty. I sometimes translate ihsan as virtuous beauty, because that's how we spread beauty around.
Right.
Yeah.
So nice.
Yeah.
So nice.
But you see, now you can understand that what I'm working on is basically the same mission that you are also working on, right?
Yes. Oh yeah.
But then but we have to bring more voices in, and and as I said in the beginning, I keep on saying, where are the Sufis then? Why can't they come and transform the economy? Right. And it's such a lonesome place, Maryam, I'm telling you, because you don't belong, you belong to these circles, but you are the one who's the odd one out, and you're saying something which people say in business, in that circle, you shouldn't be talking in this language. And I say, why not? I mean, why not? Tell me.
Right. Right. No, absolutely. Absolutely. It's almost like, how they have charts where the two circles have this overlap. So it's like, we're kind of like in that point where there's an overlap. So we belong to both, or even more. You can have multiple circles, like so many circles. And it is at one hand, it can be kind of odd, because when you're in your circle, that's like business, where it's kind of narrow and specific. And then, but you have this other component to yourself, and multiple components, right? And so you want to bring that out, and it's like, whoa, like, we're very business over here. like, how is that business? But it is, it's so important. And I think it's nice to collaborate and to share and to raise each other's voices, because because it's important work. Like what you're doing is very similar. Like when I got to speak with Kelly Skinner of Soul Care, you might remember, you said soul care, that's my thing. Like, I'm doing solidarity, like, and it's true, where we see what we have in common, we see how we can learn from each other, and we see how everything is interrelated. Like, there's an environmental aspect that's also spiritual, that's also related to our economy and finance. There's a part about our social, like you bring in the social component as well. Like, how do we relate and see each other, and how wide can we expand our consciousness? How wide can I expand my identity? Right. It makes you elastic, but in a beautiful way. And like a rubber band, it can come back, like you and you never lose your shape unless you really pull yourself out. But it allows this kind of beautiful integration of so many things. So you become more than yourself. You actually lose yourself in another self, your brothers.
Isn't it what Ibn Sheikh Al-Akbar, Ibn al-Arabi also said, the unity of being? I mean, I know that concept is totally different, but it boils down to that. The essence, right? The source, and we are all connected in that way, and every aspect of our life is interconnected.
Right.
And in a very complex world now, the complexity, every system is kind of so complex, it's interconnected. So I think the human, our consciousness has evolved to that level that we can now grasp that complexity, but we still do not know how to resolve it. So, or how to live with that complexity. So we want to, just make everything easy for ourselves. So I feel like if you go through a spiritual or personal transformation, then I think the acceptance comes that we also have to keep in mind that our own human limitations, that there is as much we can do. So we can't just solve every problem in this world or understand. And I think that's where the metaphysics or, the as you also work on perennial wisdom is what helps you to maybe, grasp or accept that the mystery, like the concept of baraka. I always say that, the grace, how do we measure that? The impact of baraka. It's not tangible. You can't just measure it, but it's here. It's working through all of us and through life and as well. So I think we are I'm quite hopeful because I feel like now we can understand these concepts, whereas before, yes, the long journey, the human evolution of the age when people were more accepting or of mysticism, that age might have gone, but now we are on the next journey, which is now, how do we now integrate all that knowledge from, not just go back and, live in that medieval time and have a very parochial view of religion or even spirituality. That's when I say we all need to be practical mystics, that be practical, but not just be a mystic, right? So I feel like maybe now we are at that age. We have no other choice. Just to open up.
Oh no, absolutely. Absolutely. I like what you're saying reminds me of adaptation, and people will use the word evolution today, but part of evolution is the ability to, now that we're in a global village, you have no choice but to really get to know each other. And my husband and I last night, we were talking about how sometimes what happens, like in relationships, and these are like, say, marital relationships, but they can also be between nations, and it goes beyond that. But what happens is, if you have two couples, you have one couple and like one is from one country and one is another, when they have friction, they'll often attribute it to the culture of the other person. And there's probably, that's true. I'm not saying that's not true, but then you'll take a couple who's from the same culture, then they have everything in common, same culture, same language, same religion, they have everything in common. So then this tendency to, it's like a unwillingness to adapt. It looks at, okay, I can't blame these things, so what can I so then it comes down to family. Well, my family's like this and your family's like that, and both statements are true, but the amazing thing about the human being and like you said, the spiritual awakening is that we can, if we have the willingness, we can actually start to adapt. And I can try to learn, like I can learn, you're so beautiful, your English, and I can try to learn Urdu, and I've been trying to learn like Urdu and Hindi, and you're from originally Lahore, but you were like my husband, you're dressing everything Western, but actually you could be completely, because you're from the East. And so like the West needs to dress in the Eastern fashion, like learn to take on each other's values and cultures and embrace
that's
them.
it.
Yeah,
that's
and
it.
it just be lovely,
because it's the resistance within ourselves that we resist to adapt, maybe, which I think now the age has come that we have to live But we have no other choice, as you said. It's a global
Right.
village now. There's no place to hide unless
Right.
you are,
Right. Yeah.
in a native somewhere like a
Mhm.
rainforest and Amazonian or somewhere, your
Mhm.
far-flung area,
Yeah.
nobody's coming to you, then maybe yes. But I think now we have to adapt to each other and
Right.
just accept,
Right.
basically.
Right.
I think that is, the age is calling for that,
Right.
for our collective survival.
Right. I think it's beautiful in the sense that's like taking the best from each other. Like it's really like that, because I believe Hazrat Inayat Khan said something to the effect of like Sufism started in the East and then came to the West. And it was recent. Yesterday was it yesterday? Was Friday, I think, was Hijrat Day in the in IT order. It's considered the day of
Yeah,
that he migrated from the East to
yeah,
the West and
yeah.
brought the Sufi message there. And then, but he said that it would come back from the West to the East, which means that like you take the best and I'm seeing that happen.
Yes, I
And it's,
agree with you. Yeah,
yeah, and it's I think it's a promising time we live in. It's a very promising time. And it has, like you said, there's challenges because we do have resistance. It is change can be unwelcome. Like it's something that the heart sometimes is, as we talked about, insecurity and fear. It can be a little fearful at times with things that are new and different, but it also has this immense capacity to be open and welcoming and to love.
Mhm.
So it's a very exciting time to be alive and discussing these things.
I know. Yeah, difficult times as well,
Yeah.
but exciting times as well.
Hmm. So nice. So would you I think we've had a pretty good, do you feel like are you happy with the conversation and everything? Was there anything
Yes,
you'd
of
like to close
course.
with?
Um, so I think for me, going to
Hmm.
Assisi,
Hmm.
going back to where we started
Yes,
from,
yes.
it's the journey. I think my journey is coming full circle as well, because, as I was raised in Saudi Arabia, a very religious place,
Yeah.
it's not anymore now, but still.
Hmm.
So taking pilgrimages, like, I
Hmm.
feel like this is, as a Sufi, as a,
Hmm.
Salik as well,
Hmm.
I'm on the path. And now the calling from Assisi is like, it just humbles me so
Yeah.
much. It's a holy purpose. And then Saint Francis of Assisi was,
Hmm.
I'm so inspired by him.
Hmm.
So I feel so blessed and humbled by this calling.
Hmm.
So I feel like my journey, spiritual and otherwise, is coming full circle.
Mashallah.
Just make to us that it goes well.
Oh, I'm sure
And
it'll be brilliant. Yeah.
yes,
Mashallah.
thank you for having me and having this conversation. I long to have these conversations.
No, it's a pleasure, and it's a wonderful conversation. You're doing what your niyat is and what you're doing is extremely important. As it's like I think building bridges and having somebody who is welcoming and willing to go outside of their comfort zone and enter into another realm. It's like it makes you nervous, but it's also the start of bringing that realm into, like combining worlds, joining worlds, and seeing what happens. So
Yeah, there's another perspective now that you've said that, and I feel like women like
mhm,
you have also taken up this challenge, and you write a lot, and I
mhm,
think it's the women who are now coming forward. And I feel like if we look at from an economic perspective as well, what I'm
mhm,
doing is I feel like that this aspect of mothering the process. So we
yeah,
need women to come forward and
mhm,
mother this process now,
right,
rather than, just having that very patriarchal, mindset. So
mhm,
it needs that, the process needs that care now,
mhm,
that nurturing,
mhm,
to enter into the new era for
mhm,
all of us. And so
absolutely,
I'm glad that women like yourself as well, you do a lot for the community. So I just see that now is the time for all of us to unite and see that how do we mother the process.
Yes, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Like bring a feminine touch.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then, my mom always says, and I think it's still true, is like women tended to be the ones who held the family together. So as we expand our definition of family, like you're saying, women will probably be the leaders in this unification.
yeah,
And we have maybe the best skill set for that because
yeah.
we have this maternal quality, we have this quality of collaboration and integration and solidarity.
Thank you.
So I always love speaking with you, and I'm so grateful that you took the time to have this meeting, and I look forward to sharing it with the Productive Wisdom readers and also on our larger Essential Spirituality platform. So Jazakallah
There is
khair.
a GoFundMe campaign as well, please.
Oh, good. Yes, I wanted to. Yes, please. Yes, please. So how can people connect with you and how can they support what you're doing? Can you share a little bit about the GoFundMe campaign? And then if they want to
Maybe
follow
you
your
can
work.
just put the link in there in your
Right.
newsletter.
Right.
The purpose of, creating a campaign for gathering some funds was I'm also experimenting with something.
Yeah.
I wanted my community, especially the Muslim community, the Pakistani community in the UK as well, for them to take notice of the
Yeah.
work I'm doing, because I do not want to go there on my own and say,
Right.
hey, Aneeqa is here, right? I just want to carry my whole community,
Right.
with me and
Yeah.
say that I'm their representative, right? It's not
Right.
just me saying it, this is
Yeah.
how it is. And just for them to also poke their consciousness as
Right.
well. And I feel like most of the time people don't even realize the work I do because I
Yeah.
do it a bit quietly as well.
Mhm.
And also to initiate a dialogue around it. So, and people will ask, like you are, thank you for this opportunity that we are having this conversation.
Right.
And so that was the purpose. And also, I'm also experimenting that, how does it feel to ask for money?
Wow. Yeah.
That you're also mastering your ego, because
Right.
your self-pride.
Right.
And I've seen, people gathering charities for people, right? And I've always appreciated them.
Right.
Like, how do you ask for money?
Right.
As you said, it's a trust, right?
Right.
Do you trust me with your money? And to, do also for a charitable cause. So yeah, there is this experiment going on.
Right.
So I created a campaign because I thought rather than just me, I couldn't find the nerve to talk about my work. Oh, hey, this is what I'm doing. So I thought maybe through that campaign, I can introduce the work and people can collaborate. It should be a collective effort.
Right.
So yeah, thank
So
you.
good. So shout out to all Muslims, but Pakistanis in particular, if you're out there listening, I hope you are, because we have many Pakistani English subscribers. And yeah, and it's like, and then from our we have a very wide community, and we have lots of non-Muslim friends and from around the world and Muslim friends. So so what you're supporting, and you correct me if I'm wrong, what you're supporting is Aneeqa ji bringing Islamic finance and a spiritual perspective to elevate people who have unlimited potential but are in difficult circumstances, and to make this world beautiful, and to return a goodly loan, a beautiful loan to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to bring this message to Assisi, to the Pope, to the world, inshallah ta'ala. And it's just a really worthwhile contribution. So it's you're contributing to an idea, to Islamic principles, to Islamic finance, but you're also contributing to universal principles. So for example, for non-Muslim friends, like it's when we talk about any particular religion, why you're doing this is because there is overlap. You're working with the
Mm.
Catholics because you actually find that there's commonality and there's
Yeah,
synergy, and
yeah,
you have similar teachings. We have teachings that match from the Bible and the Quran, teachings that match in our worldviews and our aspirations, and it's that synergy that we're supporting. And so we appreciate the unique flavor of Islam and the Islamic financial contribution, but we also see the wider universal appeal of it, and we don't deny that. We appreciate both sides, and we want to bring both sides out and say, hey, look, this is what we have in common.
yeah.
Is
I
that
think
okay?
it's
Is
phenomenal.
okay?
Yes, it's quite a significant.
Okay, so
Yeah.
shout out Pakistan Zindabad. I'm a fan. No, I really love this, and I even just us meeting, it's like our family is like Indian, Pakistani, little, we have a little Nigerian and American, and like you represent Pakistan, England, Saudi, even because you have their Saudi heritage, like you have that Saudi experience. So people today are really this beautiful, it's not, like you said, it's not a monoculture. It feels like that because of the materialism and the consumerism and things. It kind of feels like there's a monoculture, and there is, but it's so beautiful, it's so diverse, and
Yeah.
now we're all this one, it's like we're this beautiful hybrid, and
That's it. Yeah,
yeah,
the multiplicity.
yeah,
I think that is
yeah,
in practice.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So
thank you again,
thank
Aneeqa,
you, Maryam.
and
It was
I've loved it.
beautiful.
I loved it.
Thank you
So
for your time. Really appreciate.
thank
See
you.
you. Bye.
See you.